Okay, I'm gonna try and do an installation of IBM BigInsight version 2 and run a job through it in this video. So now first of all I'm gonna use Virtualbox, Oracle Virtualbox, and I'm gonna create a new configuration. I'll SUSE 64-bit, and I'll use SUSE 64-bit OS. Okay, and I will do that. I will give it as much memory as I can. I'm going to give it 5 gig OVM, and I'm going to create a new a hard drive, and I'll just create a parallels hard drive, and I'll create this on a slash volumes slash vivsoft, which is my little external hard drive, SUSE 64 slash 64-bit .hdd. That's a hard disk drive over there, and I'm gonna give it like 40 gigs of space. So I'm gonna go into the settings of this. Processor, I'll give it 2 processors. I'll make the clipboard and drag and drop bidirectional. Oops, bidirectional. I'll go to a network and I'll make it a bridged adapter. Okay, I'm going to and I'm gonna insert the CD. So you'll see that there's a hard drive. I'm gonna install the CD here. I downloaded Open SUSE .iso from their site. This is 12.3, so I'll insert that as a CD. So I'm gonna start this guy, and I will go into the installation. The installation, the most important part of this is to install that the extra kernel sources and that kind of stuff, and we'll get to that in a few seconds here. So I'm going to let time jump forward. I will choose the KDE desktop when I get to that option. By the hard drives, I know it wants to put into separate volumes. I'm just going to say, you know what, this will use one volume for the root and one for swap. One thing when I get to this screen is I can see the size of the installation here, but I'm going to click on software. And I'm also going to include a few extra things. So definitely I'm going to include base development. I'm going to include C and C++ development. And I'm going to include Linux kernel development. So I'm going to add those, and then I'm going to add TCL/TK because that's needed by that little expects thing, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So those are the guys I will include in my installation, and we'll see what makes the installation a little bit bigger, but I'm going to go ahead with the installation now and confirm. Okay, so after the installation it will now boot. We can of course boot from a hard drive this time. Okay, and I'm now going to log in, and this is my basic SUSE SUSE desktop coming up, KDE desktop. Okay, so the desktop's up, and I'm gonna go look quickly at the network. I'm gonna enable networking here to get networking up and running. So which is pretty important. It's complaining about my Virtualbox add-ons here, which I will install in a short bit here. I'm going to start the network manager. You can see that it's down at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart this box with networking now enabled, and let's see if that gets it going. Okay, now after restarting with networking enabled, you can see that it can actually get to the internet. That part is done, and is now operational SUSE desktop with internet connectivity. Next, I will fix the SSH console. So if I were to SSH localhost, we'll see it's not running. Okay, so I have to go into this YAST over here, and I believe it's this YAST over here. Put the root password in there, and then I need to go to this system services run level. Okay, go in there, and then I'm going to look for SSH, which is HD, and I'm going to enable that. Okay, and now we can see next to SSHD there's a true, so I'm going to go OK and say yes, save those changes for us. So we can see that it's working now. So now I'm going to have to set up the SSH no password. So su minus root over here, I'm going to go to root, and then I'm going to start executing a command. So let me get those quickly. Okay, so let's see, the commands are SSH minus keygen, okay, minus T, DSA as the type, minus password blank, minus F to a file, and .ssh slash ID underscore DSA. So that's going to create a DSA ID for me. And then I'm going to cat this file for me to SSH slash ID underscore DSA, the public portion. I'm going to cat that to SSH slash authorized keys. Okay, so I'm going to stick that in there, and now SSH localhost over here, and I'm going to say yes, and now it's permanently added localhost to the known host. So if I were to do this again, SSH localhost, I will see that it's working perfectly. Okay, so next thing is I'm going to install the expect. There's expect, it's running already, so it's in there, so just make sure of that. And now I will get the BigInsight distribution onto this machine, so bear with me a few seconds. Okay, on my server I'll use a thing called Mampa. It's just a little service or Apache server. I can see that I have my stuff on a volume there. So I'm going just to start those servers, and that's on my host. That's on my Mac over here. So we'll wait for a few seconds while that starts. Okay, the Apache is up, and the next step now is to actually go there. So I'm going to go to 192.168.1.118 port 8888. That's the port I'm running it on. So there's my files. There's the distribution Linux 64 for IIB. So I'm going to actually open that, and here's a dictionary file. Let me that contains all the dictionary. I'm going later, so I'm just gonna save that also, and I'll just save it in downloads, just so that both of them are there. So this guy is going along. That guy has been downloaded. Okay, so I'm going to try and download it again, but this time I'm just going to say save a file and not open it with the arc thing. So let's see what it does. It's trying to download it. Yeah, this works a bit better now. Try and open it. Open. Let's see if I take this guy and I say extract, and I say extract to downloads, and I say all files. That seems to be a little bit better. There it goes, 100%. So I have to save it, and it will extract to there. It's all extracted. I'm gonna go into my terminal over here, and I'm gonna go /home /downloads. There's IBM BigInsight. There we are, and that's the basic installation. So I'm gonna start over here, start.sh, and it will go through a bit of stuff here. So I'm gonna pause while this runs, and the outcome of this is basically a URL, which we'll get to in a few seconds. I'll show you now. So this takes a little bit of time. Okay, so it's run for a bit, and it ended up with this saying here's to continue the installation. So I'm going to open that URL, which will open us into a nice BigInsight installation over here. In Firefox, there's system requirements, there's the guide, and we can see that it's in BigInsight version 2. So I'm going to hit next. I'm going to read through the whole thing, and then I'm just reading quickly. Hang on. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so I'm going to accept it, and I will hit next. You can install cluster over here or single. I'm just for this going to install a single server. I will show the cluster later. Then I'm going to leave all of this basically defaults, not going to make any changes. So I'm going to give a root password over here, and the user is going to create this BI admin, and I will give that a password too. And then I'm going to say, well, and that's the group as well, so I'm going to hit next over there. It's going to be a real printout here of everything it's going to do. So we're going to see that there's our HBase ports, and our Hive node port, and the web interface for Hive is on 9999, and there's our data node 1020, job tracker, all of these good little things over here. So you can of course print that, and then I'm going to hit install. So this is gonna take a little bit of time. So in other operating systems, I got to this point and then it would typically fall over, but it has something to do with the expecs. It has something to do with the TCL, those kind of things. So it's important that we get to this point and we actually move beyond this. And but this part takes about 20 minutes, half an hour. So I'm gonna, after the installation, it will go through the validation stage, where it's validating the installation. So we will continue to wait. And then finally the installation is done. There's installation log over there, and you can go to the BigInsight Console. So we'll open that, and over here I'm going to hit finish, and it's just saying, well, you can go to the BigInsight Console, and that's it there. It's IBM InfoSphere BigInsight Basic Edition. That's the edition I'm running, and that's the console. We can see there's an administration area, there's a jobs area, and there's a HDFS area. We can see that those are all the services, components that's installed: Derby, Flume, Hadoop, HBase, Hive, Jackal, Uzi, and Zookeeper. They're all up and running. You can, for instance, go to Hadoop, and then you can see all the more detail about it, and you can go look, those are the PIDs that it's running under. So once we go to HDFS over here, we can actually go look at the HD file system. You can see that it's created quite a few things here. So first test job, I'm just going to do a test job here. I'm going to create a sample job. So under jobs, of course, there's nothing. I'm going to create a sample job, and earlier I downloaded that dictionary.txt file. So I'm going to say, well, first of all, we got to get it into here before we can actually create the job. So I'm going to go into the temp folder over here, and I'm going to upload a file. So upload from my local file system here. I know that in the home and the downloads, documents and downloads, I downloaded this dictionary.txt file. I'm going to say OK, and it's going to actually copy it to the server now, or install it on the HDFS. If I look at this, it's a file, and let's refresh like it says, so we can get some more details about it. In the temp folder, we can see that there's a 28 megabyte file, and you can even look at the file. So if you look at it, it's going to get 10K of it, and it's the English dictionary. So that is the file. So I've put it in /tmp. So I'm going to create a job. I'm going to create a simple job over here, and that's just a word count example. So I'm going to look for the file, and like it says, you want a file name. So we know that in TMP we know there's a dictionary file in the /tmp. Okay, and we're going to say take that guy. That's a directory. And then the output, let's just go put the output in, say, /user BIA admin, and I'm just gonna put it in there, I guess. So I'm gonna say put it in /user into this folder, BIA admin. Okay, and I'm going to call it test_1. Okay, so now I'm going to submit the job. We will see that the job actually goes in to the server. There it is. I'm gonna also then go to local host 50070. There's my Hadoop administration. We can see, so I don't have to look at it through the IBM's console. So if I look at 60, there's my actual task track. Back in my BigInsights, I can see the job. Over here I can go view the job. We can see that it's map produce and it's in a cleanup stage. It's done all of those. Here's the logs for the job and so all the details that it did. Seeing that the job is now complete and it has successfully ran, and we can see it finished at that time. So I'm gonna go and look at my HDFS, and I will look at my user BIA admin folder, and there we can see as my output test 1. We can see it's successful, and here's the response. Only had one worker, so there's only one file, but there it is. You know, that's a result of that. You know, the word both appeared 3 times, and by 24 times, and but 16 times. So that's the basics there. Then to stop and start this guy, you know, in this folder it's now created /opt/ IBM BigInsight. It's created this folder, but you have to be the BI admin user to be able to work with anything here. So su -bi admin, I'm going to become that user. Ops says IBM Insight bin. So in here there is status.sh file, and that will give you a status of everything. We can see that all of those things have started, and there's also a stop all over here. When I execute that, of course it's going to go and stop all the servers, and there's also a start all. It will stop and start, of course, the whole BigInsight server. One thing I notice is, you know, if my machine crashes or something goes bad, I just run a stop and a start, and it starts up pretty clean every time. I haven't had any problems like that, you know, that I've had with running it standalone. So it's pretty solid. So that's it's stopping it there. We can see that it stopped all, and I can and of course if you try and go back to this now, it's down at the moment. Start all, same thing, and you'll see it starting up, and it will run through all that and give you this message at the end, you know, succeeded, and give you all the stuff that it started. So it's important to look out here. One thing I noted here is, you know, it waits for a few seconds for that node to come up, and it can take about 20 or 30 seconds sometimes before that node is actually up and running. But pretty straightforward, and so there you have it. I will delve a little bit deeper into this. Thank you, and hopefully we can use this.